Hi guys, Mrs. Lacefield here again, and today I'm going to teach you a lesson about questioning the text. So, what does that mean to question the text? Questioning the text just means I'm going to look at a text, which would be a book, an article, um, honestly, sometimes for text, we'll actually use other kinds of media, so like a video, and we're going to ask questions about that. And we're going to ask questions so that we can understand it on a deeper level. We've done that a lot this year in my class when we've read Hatchet, when we've looked at the stories every single week, and I'm going to go just a little bit deeper into it. Okay, so for questions, there's something called a depth of knowledge for it, and there's 4 different levels. I've got them written down right here. I'm going to go over them. So if you look, the first level, level 1, is called recall. This is the easiest level there is. Okay, that just means that when you have a story, recall is thinking back in your mind and pulling out something from the text that it says or that you can see. So, for instance, if we've got the story, I always use the story Three Little Pigs as an example, right? Because it's a really well known story and people know it very well. So, a recall question for that would be, what kind of house did the first pig build? Okay, so I could think back to the story, and it says exactly in the story what the first pig built. The first pig built a straw house. So my answer to level 1 question, recall, is that he built a straw house. Those are the kind of questions the level 1 questions are. Level 2 questions are on skills and concepts. This is something that we've worked on a lot this year. Skills and concepts are when we're working on analyzing things, so comparing and contrasting 2 characters or 2 stories. We've worked on that. Predicting what's going to happen. We've worked on that a lot. Looking at character traits. We've worked on that, right? So those are different skills that you use when you are reading in order to understand it a little bit better. A lot of times these skills, we try to set them up in graphic organizers. So those are kind of like the little pictures with columns and stuff like that that you fill out when you're reading a story to help you understand it. Okay, this is what we focused on a lot in 3rd grade. The 2 other skills, which you also need to know, number 3 is called strategic thinking. Now, what does the word strategic means? Strategic just means well thought out. So that means that you're going to look at something and you're going to say, okay, I need to think about this a little bit because it's not telling me exactly in the text what this is. All right. So, for instance, with the Three Little Pigs, strategic thinking, it would say, why do you think the first little pig built his house out of straw? Now, does it say that in there? Why he does? No, it doesn't say it. So you have to think about it. And you're like, okay, so what do I know about Three Little Pigs? The third little pig, the one that built his house out of bricks, he was a really hard worker, right? He planned out what to do, which means that maybe the second little pig with the sticks, that was a little bit stronger than the first one, so he thought about it a little bit more. But the first little pig who built his house out of straw, maybe he didn't put very much work into his house, right? Maybe he didn't think this out very well. So why did he build his house out of straw? Because he wanted to get his house done in the quickest way possible, right? So I could think through that. I could figure it out. Okay. Like I said, strategic thinking means well thought out. This one's going to take more effort than the first 2 because you have to think it through. You have to use your common sense to piece together different things. Okay? Now, for the strategic thinking, when I'm asking that question, why did the first little pig build his house out of straw? I could possibly get some different answers for that, right? It depends on where my thought patterns are going to, right? And what makes sense. So there's different things that could make sense. And if we could ask the first little pig, we'd know for sure, and then it would become recall because he would tell us, right? But for strategic thinking, we need to figure out what that is. Then the last one, number 4, is called extended thinking. Now, extended, I don't know if you guys have seen those trucks that have 4 doors, right? They're called extended cabs, so it goes out farther, right? We just take our thinking a little bit farther, okay? This one, for number 4, this is a lot of times where we start creating new things. So, for instance, if we took the story of the 3 little pigs and we saw what happened in the story, right? The patterns that happen, and we're like, okay, now we're going to create another story where this happens. Or we're going to create a fourth little pig, what would happen with the fourth little pig, right? So that's where we're creating new things. So here are different things, right? Recall, which is just thinking about facts. Skills and concepts, which is we're taking that stuff and we're analyzing more. Strategic thinking is where we're coming up with our thoughts. We're thinking out why things happen. Then extended thinking, where we're creating more things. Okay, so today and this whole week, what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at a couple of stories and we're going to be answering questions with the 4 different levels. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. I've got a story pulled up here. It's called Crunch. It's by Carolina, I hope I say your last name right, Rabbi, something like that. And it's a story about a guinea pig. Okay, so let's read through it, and then I'm going to ask and answer some questions about this story based on the 4 different levels. Okay, so let's just read through it together. This is Crunch. Crunch likes his comfy bed, but most of all, he loves. Let's find out what he loves. Eating. It says num num, so he's eating all of his food. Yum, yum. He's just so excited about his eating. Oh, and right there, he's drinking out of his little guinea pig water bottle, right? Crunch had everything he needed to be happy, but there was something missing from his life. So right here, he's got his carrot, he's got his food, there's his little food dish, his water, he's munching on stuff right there. And so it says he had everything he needs, but something's still missing. We're gonna find out what's going on, what's missing. Though he didn't know what. Huh. Right here we've got this little mouse. Little mouse is grabbing the other side of the leaf that he's gonna be eating. Let's find out what's going on. So right here, they're both eating 2 sides. Oh, it's kind of like Lady and the Tramp, except for I don't think it's in like a romantic way. They're just eating both sides, right? So he says, "Hi, how's it going? My name is Cheddar." Oh, so we found out that the mouse's name is Cheddar. And so Crunch says, "Oh, hello. I'm just having my breakfast." Breakfast? Wow. Are you having lunch and dinner too? Yes. I love eating. That's why I'm called Crunch. I bet you have enough food to share. Oh, now let's look at Crunch here. So before, he was all happy, just hugging his food because he loves it so much. And now the look on his face is kind of showing me that he's like, oh, share? Hmm. If Crunch lives in a guinea pig cage all by himself, I don't even know if he knows what sharing is. Let's find out. Share my food with you? No way. My food is my food. So right there, he doesn't look very happy, does he? Suppose I gave you something in return. Like what? You can see what Crunch is thinking of. Big ol' strawberry, right? A hug. A friendly hug. How about a big, friendly hug? Now, when I'm reading this, it looks like Cheddar, like, yeah, he wants some food, but it looks like he wants to be friends too, right? No, I don't need a hug, and I won't share my food with you. Hug. And he's just kind of like mumbling to himself, like, that's ridiculous. He wants to give me a hug. Look, when Crunch was yelling, it looks like it might have hurt Cheddar's feelings a little bit, right? Looks a little bit sad. Now he's just hugging himself and he's turning and walking away. Crunch finished his fresh breakfast. But then he started to think about Cheddar. I wonder where Cheddar is now. He looks so skinny and hungry. I'm sure he could have eaten all of my food. I wonder if he found any. He might be starving or in real danger. So you can see that cat right there, and Cheddar's running away. Oh no! I kept my food, but I lost a friend. I have to find Cheddar before it's too late. But I've never been outside my home. So right here we've got Crunch. He's trying to make a decision, right? He's like, I made a bad choice. And Cheddar's gone, but he could be in real trouble, right? He could be starving to death. He could run into a cat. I need to go help him. Oh, but this is so scary. I've never been outside my home. I've never done this before. So let's see what happens. Cheddar, I'm coming. And look, he's even got his little handy dandy strawberry there in case he gets hungry. Anyone here? Hey, have you seen a mouse? He's talking to himself in his reflection. Maybe here. Ooh, this smells tasty. Cheddar, where are you? Oh, wow. And he sees butterflies for the first time. Crunch discovered lots of new things, but not what he was looking for. So the sun's going down. It's the end of the day. And I wonder how Crunch is feeling right now. See, that's something that I would have to use my strategic thinking for, right? It doesn't tell me, but I can look and I can think about how he'd feel if he was working hard all day, looking for cheddar, trying to right a bad choice that he made, and he can't find him to help him, right? He's probably feeling disappointed and sad. And so he says, I'm sorry, my friend. He goes to shut the door to go back in. Sorry for what? Right there is Cheddar. He was hanging out the whole time in the cage for not giving you a hug. I believe that's the end. Yep, the end. So right there, they're eating the food. Okay, so that's just a cute short story about a guinea pig and a mouse become friends, right? So now, if I'm going through my 4 levels of knowledge, 1, recall. So that would be like me asking the question, what does Crunch love to do? And this is something I could look up in the book if I need to, right? I could go all the way back. Sorry, it's taking a second. All the way back to here, right? Crunch likes his comfy bed, but most of all, he loves eating, right? So I could go back in the book and I could look. What does Crunch love to do the most? He loves to eat, right? He's kind of a chunky guinea pig. He loves his food. So that's a kind of question for recall. 2, skills and concepts. That's where I would ask a question like, what is the same and what is different between Crunch and Cheddar? So one thing that's the same, they're both rodents, right? Crunch is a guinea pig, Cheddar's a mouse, but they're both rodents. So I could say that they're both rodents, they're both small, they're both animals, they both like to eat the same kinds of foods, something like that. That's something that's different, right? I could say that that Cheddar is a mouse, Crunch is a guinea pig. Cheddar is skinny and starving, where Crunch is really fat and full, right? Uh, Cheddar lives outside, and Crunch lives in a cage. I could compare and contrast a lot of different things. I could also compare and contrast Crunch from at the beginning of the story to the end of the story, so I could see how he changes. Right at the beginning of the story, he only cared about eating. He was kind of selfish. Right at the end of the story, he learned how to share and he made a friend. And he still liked eating, but he realized there were other things that he liked as well. Strategic thinking. Okay, this is one that I need to think it out a little tiny bit more. So for this one, I would say something like predict what would happen if what's his name? Crunch, if Crunch didn't find Cheddar that first day. Okay? Then I could say, "Oh, I think that he would go out the next day and try to find Cheddar again." Or I would say, predict how Crunch feels at the end, or predict how Cheddar feels at the end. Okay, I could do both of them. So let's say we're doing Cheddar. Predict how Cheddar feels at the end of the story, or analyze how Cheddar. You might hear the word analyze as well. Okay, so I would say at the end of the story, right? Let me turn all the way to the end. We can look. Something kind of cool about picture books is that we can use the pictures as well as the words to figure out what's going on, right? So right here, they're both smiling, they're hugging each other, and then they're sharing the food. They've got smiles on both of their faces, right? So if I was to think and say what I think Cheddar is feeling at the end of the story, he's feeling very happy, where before he was feeling sad, right? He's got a new friend, he's got food, he's safe in the cage, right? So that's what I would say. Then the very last one, extended thinking, okay? This one is where I would say something like, what can you learn from this story? Now, this, I might have a couple of different answers. Or I might say, like, create a picture of I keep forgetting their names. Crunch and Cheddar 1 week in the future as they become better friends, right? Something like that. But if I were to think about what this story's teaching me, I would say something like, um, honestly, I would say that friendship is more important than things, right? Because you look at that, and Crunch loved his food. Food's just a thing, and yes, you need food to survive and everything, but he already had plenty of food, right? But he didn't have friendship. And it was worth sharing that food, giving up a little bit so that he could have his friend, right? And you could tell Cheddar didn't just want the food, he actually wanted to be a friend, right? In the story, he didn't just eat the food here in the, where is it? Right here. He's got a little belly on him, right? So he didn't just eat the food and then leave and be like, see you later, right? He was able to be friends with him. So those are the 4 different levels of questions. All right, so what you're going to do this week is there's 2 stories you're going to listen to. One's called The Giving Tree. It's a great story. It's by Shel Silverstein. And one is called The Gruffalo. I can't remember who it's by, but I will have it linked and everything to this anyway. You're going to listen to both of the stories, and then you're going to go through the slideshow that I'm going to attach. The slideshow is going to have 4 different questions for each story, one for each level. So there will be a level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 for each. Okay? So remember, level 1's easiest, level 4 takes the most amount of thinking. So please make sure that you listen to the story, answer those 4 questions. I will leave it open so that you can comment down below to ask me any questions that you might have about this. But then please make sure that you turn that in. Okay, very, very important that you click submit on Google Classroom. Otherwise, I can't get the, I don't have your work so I can look at it. Okay, so let's go question the text. I hope you enjoy the stories. I hope you enjoyed the story about Crunch. I'll see you later.